Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming. My name is Gwen Gittens, and I'm the chair of the Lee County School Board. I want to welcome those here in the audience and those joining virtually through Facebook and YouTube. And this is something that I've been wanting to see for a while, so I'm glad to see we're doing that. 4 months ago, one of our families lost their 12-year-old daughter, Elena Tamplin, when she was hit and killed while walking to the bus stop. 4 weeks ago, the Adkins family suffered the same devastation when their 8-year-old daughter, Layla, lost her life waiting at her bus stop. These tragedies, while heartbreaking, have brought our community together, which is why we're here tonight. Thousands of you have weighed in, offering solutions and help, and not just to us, but to all the municipalities, law enforcement agencies, and in the county. Because this is a community-wide issue. So we thought, what a better way to listen than to have everyone in the same room together. With that said, I would like to welcome those who accepted the invitation to be here tonight, including my fellow board members, Mary Fisher, thank you, Melissa Giovanelli, is not here, Chris Patrica, Debbie Jordan, Betsy Vaughn, and Kathleen Morgan. Thank you all for being here. Oh, okay. I need to speak louder. I need to speak like I'm talking to my son. Okay. All right. Okay, from the city of Cape Coral, we have City Manager John Zerlag. Here he is right there. Traffic Engineer William Corbett, thank you. Police Chief David Newland. Lieutenant Dana Costin, he's in the back. From Lee County, County Manager Roger Desjardins. I told him I love his name. I sound like I'm speaking French. Deputy County Manager Dave Harner, thank you. And representing the Sheriff's Office, Captain Michael Miller. Here he is in the back. From Fort Myers, City Manager Saeed Kazemi, he's not with us yet. He may be coming. From Sanibel Island, City Manager Judith Zamora, I'm sorry. Is she here? And from Fort Myers Beach, Town Manager Roger Hernstadt. And from Lee County Metropolitan Planning Organization, Executive Director Don Scott. There's Mr. Scott. And Ron Gogoy. I know that we may not have received RSVPs from everyone, so if there are any other elected officials or representatives that are here from local cities, we would love for you to introduce yourself. Would you raise your hand? And do we have the mic out there for them? Oh, okay. Use your outside voice.
City of Sanibel.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that we missed? No, I introduced him. Right. Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. Now I'd like to introduce the Superintendent, Dr. Greg Adkins, who will introduce the team from the district.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And joining from the district, we'll just go ahead and introduce these individuals. To my right, your left, Rick Parfit, who's the Director of Safety and Security. Roger Lloyd, who is our Director of Transportation. Also have Dr. Denise Carlin, who is Director of Strategic Planning and Community Engagement, is in the audience. We also have Mr. Trey Davis, our Chief Information Officer, and Dr. Angela Pruitt, who is our Chief Human Resources Officer. So, and of course, Rob here from Communications, who's our moderator. I do want to personally thank every single one of you for being here today, for taking the time to come out and provide input into this issue. Most especially, I want to thank Heidi and Andrew Aiken, Layla's aunt and uncle, and their friends and family for being here today. So thank you very much for being here. You're in the forefront of our thoughts tonight as we talk about ways to make our community safer for children. I'll have to be thank you. He's having difficulty hearing me. So this is a little bit off script, but I have to tell you how I start my every single day, and you know, it's as a part of my normal ritual, it's a prayer for the safety and security of our students. You know, we have over 96,000 kids in our school district, and you know, bringing them to and from school is quite an enormous undertaking. We do have 7,000 bus stops, and more than 49,000 of those students are riders. So this is an extremely serious issue. And so the people here tonight, you coming out and providing input, I think is going to help us make some serious changes. We do promise to listen. We do promise to answer questions to the best of our knowledge and the best that we can. We also are striving to work together to make our community a safer place, and that's why I'm very appreciative of our community officials from the county and also from our different municipalities and different law enforcement agencies, because this is a community issue, and I think we have to work together as a community to come up with better solutions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rob Spicker, and he's going to be our moderator this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adkins. Well, as you know, we don't just have you folks here in the boardroom to be a part of our audience tonight, but we do have a group joining us on Facebook, and we have a whole other group that is joining us this evening watching live on YouTube. So for those of you currently watching on Facebook and you have a question that you would like to ask, simply type that comment or question right into the comment section below where the video is playing, because we are monitoring that as it goes. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can use our email address that we set up specifically for this topic, busstopsafety@leeschools.net. We are monitoring that as well right now. Tonight, we really intend for this to be a forum, a chance where we can all get together, share our ideas, offer our solutions, and do our best to get all questions answered that come up to us this evening. This topic that we're talking about, we know, is passionate. Many of us very passionate about it, and that passion at times, we know, can also boil over. So all we ask is that while we're here this evening is to be respectful. Please refrain from any insults or name calling while we're making our comments. We are all here for the same reason, which is the safety of our children, and we ask that you keep that in mind as we progress through the evening. With that in mind, we are about to get started, and can I ask simply just by a show of hands, maybe from those of you in the audience, how many would have a question or a comment, suggestion that they would like to make at the podium tonight? It's about what we would expect. So if we could, think about 2 to 3 minutes so that we can remain mindful of our time frame tonight and respectful of our guests and our audience, that we said that we would be here for 90 minutes. So if you can think about 2 to 3 minutes, we can get through everybody, plus have a chance for our panel here to answer your questions. So if you wish to speak this evening, what I'd like you to do is come up to the podium that is on your right, over here on the side of the boardroom, and line up. And again, limit your questions or comments to about 2 to 3 minutes. The podium on the left, that is going to be for our invited guests from the city and the county in case there is a comment or a question that they can answer or help fill in any additional details. So ladies and gentlemen, that will be for you board members as well if you want to jump in. So we also have some cards in the back of the room. We'll ask you to fill those out if you want before we go. To fill those out if you'd like to be part of our ongoing discussion. And when you leave, there is also a little handout there about bus stop safety. So if you're wishing to speak, please go ahead and line up here. And we'll get to those in just a minute. With our panel in place, we'll start with our first questions coming right to us already through email addresses. Let's go over to Lauren and find out our first question of the evening that was emailed into busstopsafety@leeschools.net. Lauren?
Yes, thank you. We already have questions coming into the email and also on Facebook. And the first one, we're going to take Dr. Adkins and our team up at the district level. Many of you have reached out about changing school start times and also school choice. So we're just going to go ahead and start with those two topics. And let Dr. Adkins address those.
Okay, so school choice and student assignment and start times. So You know, one of the things that, well, we're looking at several things as relates to these issues, but first, just to give you a little bit of background, school choice is something that has a long history in Lee County. It literally goes back to desegregation, and it's something that, you know, the district just relatively recent in our history won unitary status back, and that's the opportunity for us to make our own choices relative to how we assign students. So that is something that we have a group that looks at every single year. One of the things that we want to do moving forward that we already have underway is what we call proximity-based student assignment. So today you have some of our neighborhoods that have 14 up to 17 choices for a kindergartner, and we're trying to bring that down to a more reasonable number around the place where the student lives. So if you have an address, and you can actually, we have the program now, so you can put your address in to the program, and it brings up the 5 or 6 schools that are actually closest to your home, and we hope to route our buses in the near future around a proximity-based student assignment system. That should decrease some of the ride times, and also, I think, you know, get more of that neighborhood school concept. But just one thing, just if you think about neighborhood schools, some of the challenges is that a lot of our schools aren't necessarily located exactly where our kids are located. Cape Coral Elementary, a lot of kids down in the south part of the Cape. Cape Coral Elementary is the only school serving down there. Then if you go up north, you have campuses where you have multiple schools in very close proximity, like Patriot and Skyline are literally on the same campus, and very close proximity. You have Gulf Elementary, or Trafalgar Elementary. Pelican is relatively close by, so you have to think about those type of things when you do this. So the other challenge that we have anytime when you have transporting this number of students, we have 49,000 kids, so you can certainly look at, and we're not opposed to looking at start times. However, you have to consider that right now we have to run 4 tiers. So you have a high school, and then you have an early elementary, you have a late elementary, and you have a middle school tier. So middle school currently starts at 9:45. So any movement that you make in these students early on, you also have to consider that movement further, so you're pushing the middle school students later in the day. So if you push them a half an hour, that's 10:15. If you push them an hour, they're starting at 10:45. And then if they're starting that late, what time are they getting home? During regular time, particular winter time, they're getting home after dark. So all of that goes into the thinking. The other thing is, well, why don't you just condense the tiers to, instead of 4 tiers, run 3 tiers? Then you get into the issue of being able to hire enough people. We currently run 753 bus routes that transport our 49,000 kids to and from school. And in order to do that, a bus driver doesn't, like a high school driver would then do a late elementary run. So they do 2 runs, and you got to have enough time to turn that around. So you have to consider that. If you were to do 3 tiers or 2 tiers, what you would have to do is hire, 1,000 drivers or 1,400 drivers, and this workforce simply will not support that. We have Mr. Lloyd can tell you that even hiring 753 regular drivers and the substitutes that are required, which are another 100 at least, because you factor in about 10% for the workforce, that's very difficult when the competition is very fierce. You take a CDL license and somebody can go drive for Coca-Cola or go drive for a construction company and make significantly more money, and you also don't have a break in your schedule in the middle of the day, because now our drivers have to do a morning route and an afternoon route. So all of those things we will continue to look at, and we will listen to that as an issue and consider those things moving forward. But I also want to be clear as to all the factors that go into start times and student assignment. And by the way, if you did away with school choice, let's say if you just did away with it.
Yes.
You scared me, man.
Yes.
Come on. You jump. If you did away with school choice, remember you still have the issue of transporting those 49,000 kids to and from school. You still have that issue that you're going to have to deal with. So if you eliminated it today and went more towards a proximity-based system, you still have to get the kids to and from school, so you'd still have to run a
Sort of like Common Core math. Can't get rid of that either, right?
Excuse me.
Well, just to respond.
I'm just saying. I understand what you're saying.
I answered your question. You made me jump. Now ask your question.
Go ahead. Your question is?
I have several comments. First, you just took the wind out of my sails. I was here tonight to address you and address each of you, especially Roger. You're in charge of the public transportation school buses. Why is it when I call your department to ask them what the yearly budget is, it's top secret? I have to submit a public information request on how much you're paying for busing kids in school in Lee County every year. Why is that top secret? Am I a Russian spy? Is it going to help the Russians?
No, sir, you're not. This is the first time I'm hearing about that. So if you want to set up a date with me, we can.
Why should I have to set up a date to find out how much you're paying for school buses? Oops, excuse me. But he took the wind out of my sails. Close to school. I agree with you 1,000%, sir. I hope you make that a reality. Okay? That's just one of my points. I lost my only daughter. I know what it's like as a parent to lose your child. My niece, my great niece, Alana Taplin, was killed in January walking in the dark back home from taking my great niece to the bus stop, okay, out in North Myers. They can never be replaced. You guys aren't responsible for that policy, okay? I understand that. Going to school in the dark has been set in stone since when my mom was going to school 70 years ago. Needs to change. I like what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and I hope you implement it. Because if another child gets killed in the dark, I'm holding each and every one of you responsible, as every parent here should. We're sick of it. You can tax all the taxpayers. There's not infrastructure enough to get street lights, sidewalks put in place for bus stops and safe zones for kids. There's not. And you're going to tax the taxpayers and you're going to tax the homeowners and make them build all these street lights. It's not going to happen for years. And when you do, people are going to suffer because you're taxing them. The simple solution, like you said, start school later. Easy fix. You got a doctorate degree, right? Easy fix. Let's start school later. Why are we set in stone with our kids going to school in the dark? Kids aren't smart. Adults aren't smart. They walk in dark clothing in the dark with no reflective, no lights, no nothing. Stuff's going to happen. I'm holding each and every one of you responsible. From now on, you're the new school board. I'm holding you responsible and liable, as every parent here should. Thank you.
Next, come on up.
To follow that, I am the Safe Routes to School community educator for Lee County. I see every day exactly what he was talking about with the children out walking, their backs to traffic, they're dressed in all black, they've got their earbuds in, their heads are buried in their phones. While, yeah, sidewalks are great, changing school choice, school hours, all of these are great, but systemic change takes time and money, and sidewalks are going to take years and millions, if not billions of dollars to retrofit the entire county. So what can we do right now? Educate our kids. This is Safe Routes to School offers a free program. It's available to all of the schools. Currently this year, only 38 of the schools have asked Safe Routes to School to come into their schools, even though pedestrian and bike safety is a it is a Sunshine State standard for physical education. that requirement is met by a 15-minute video. Is that enough for our kids? We want to make sure that our kids are seen. We want to make sure that our kids pay attention. We can do better by educating our kids, reaching out. I know Cape Coral Police Department is doing a great program this summer for bikes. It's for free. Let's get our kids out there. Yeah, we want to build these sidewalks, but let's teach our kids to be safe and how to use the streets we have today.
Thank you.
Could I just follow up with that?
Please do.
I think the most important point there in terms of what solutions that we can implement pretty quickly have to do around, educating our students. And again, this is all of us together. We would like to, as we look forward, I know we need to do some things now in terms of educating kids, which we are doing and should continue to do, but also as we look toward beginning the school year next year, we can really do a lot as a community to really emphasize this issue. Some of the ideas that came out of our discussions with the city of Cape Coral and the county, we had talked about, what can we do in terms of getting like parents together, and I can't remember if it's called the parent bus or something like that, but where we can organize around bus stops to help provide supervision. We can also do media blasts out as we prepare for the start of school on safe bus stop behavior. Parents can talk to their kids, we can talk to our community, law enforcement can help us. If we all together, I think we can send a really loud message that can help educate our entire community. If we come together and do it, I think we can all together really make an impact and make sure that that message drives down to every single person that needs to hear it. This is an issue I know you all have taken up. I know Healthy Lee is another initiative where walker and pedestrian safety is an issue they feel is important, and this was an issue that came up even prior to these tragedies occurring. So, again, I think together we can make that message loud and clear out there.
Dr. Adkins, if I might too, Ms. Lauren over here, sorry. I know that we're working closely with our law enforcement partners and our SROs in the school to have some of those messages given to the kids. And I know for sure that the Lee County Sheriff's Office, we've worked with them on providing them bus stop information. So they're sending their road patrols out in the morning and they're actually looking for students at the bus stops. And when they're seeing them maybe not making the best choices, they're having those conversations with our students too. So it really is starting to kind of go out widespread. And we can make a more concerted effort at the beginning of the year, but those are some of the things that we've done now, as well as send messaging to our principals and give them some resources and things like that that they can teach in the classroom for the remainder of this year that specifically deals with bus stop safety.
Thank you. Next.
My name's Erin Diaz. Oh, I'm a little nervous. I forgot my notebooks. We're just going to wing this tonight, but I think that the last 3 weeks I have been, I don't even know the word. We have been so submerged in this because I truly feel that we are not getting a lot of support from every council around. I live in Cape Coral. I am the co-founder of Benches for Babes. We are the group that is, has taken it upon ourselves to work with the citizens of Lee County for benches and reflectors and all these things that you're seeing at the bus stops right now, the temporary stuff. And when I say temporary, that's exactly what it is, because that's, I guess, one of my questions is, if we hadn't stepped in, like, what would you guys have done? Would we be here 3 weeks later, like, kids are still at the bus stops, like nothing's happening? I see insurance companies passing out lights. I see everybody else working together, and it really, I feel like we need a little more. There was the third child hit 2 weeks ago, last week, and since we're talking about the girls, and thankfully he is okay. However, do you guys realize that he wasn't even cited because it was deemed too dark where the student was walking? And whose responsibility is this? Is this the city? Is this the county? Is it the school board? Like, I'm confused, and that's what I really want to know. Like, what would you guys have done if we hadn't stepped in, and who is in charge? Who is responsible for all this? Thank you.
Well, the first thing is, I think, in terms of who is responsible for this, I think we're all responsible for this. Okay, let's think about this a minute. You know, by law, if you think about the district, you know, we're responsible for establishing safe bus stops. We're responsible for picking those students up safely, transporting them to and from school, and providing a safe and quality education in those schools. I think that we as a community, as I've been a parent that has had my kid, you know, at bus stops in Lee County, and have taken her to, now she teaches for us, but when I was a parent in Cape Coral, you know, part of what I did was work with my kid to make sure that and the school district to make sure that she was being transported to and from school safely. But I think that we as a community, as a taxpayer, you want things in your community that make it safer for pedestrians, bicyclists, and all of that, and not just for students, but for all of us. And that's so right after this occurred, you know, I give John Zerlag, city manager in Cape Coral, a lot of credit. He reached out and started bringing us together as entities, and we had a meeting right off the bat, and we started talking about sidewalks and safe walking to and from school, and street lights and benches, and our Rotarians stepped up to the plate and talked about how they could jump in and help with this effort. And so right now we've already been working together with our transportation department, our safety security department, the city of Cape Coral. The county has also stepped up to the plate and doing the same thing out in Lehigh with the bus stops and the benches. So those are the things that we're doing right now as a community. And we've established a task force. And John, I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, but I think these are some things that as a community that we can do together collectively to make it safer for our kids.
Well, thank you. As mentioned, I'm John Zerlag, Cape Coral City Manager. Can you hear me all okay? I want to thank you, Dr. Adkins, for joining the stakeholders group, as well as Roger Desjardins. It is a county-wide issue that we have here, and I think it would be important. It'll take me about a minute and a half to read a letter that I had written to the stakeholders group that I'm going to have placed on our website in Cape Coral. It was written to the stakeholders. I've got about 23 of you, ladies and gentlemen, and we met last week, Wednesday. The following day, I wrote the following letter. Dear stakeholders, thank you for attending the first stakeholders meeting yesterday regarding school safety for children. Going forward, the group will be titled the School Transportation / Safety Stakeholders Group. During the meeting, the following topics were discussed in detail: traffic safety solutions that incorporate sidewalks, streetlights, traffic signs, bus stop seating, education and awareness, and best practices, all the things, Doctor, that you had touched upon very recently. Moving forward, our next steps will be to continue to explore the appropriate traffic safety solutions for implementation throughout the city, and I'm hoping that it extrapolates to the county as well, including one, sidewalks. The city's current goal is to install sidewalks on all major roads. In addition, Public Works staff is compiling data to evaluate the potential benefits versus costs of installing sidewalks on local roads. 2, sidewalks funding. Staff is currently working to identify funding sources for construction, including grants, assessments, etc. 3, bus stop seating. A subcommittee has been established with the goal of proposing a pilot program for bus stop seating, identifying priority locations, placement of seatings, and performance measures. The subcommittee will also address the logistics of accepting donations while adhering to engineering standards. City of Cape Coral Traffic Engineer Bill Corbett will head the subcommittee, consisting of staff members from the city, Lee County, the Lee County School District, City of Cape Coral Charter Schools, and several Cape Coral Rotarians who have taken the responsibility to find the revenue for roughly 200 benches that will constitute our pilot program. 4, streetlights and signs. Staff will continue to explore these traffic safety solutions for potential implementation. 5, education, awareness, and best practices. Staff will continue to work with Lee County School District and City of Cape Coral Charter Schools to promote education and awareness, as well as best practices to ensure the safety of our school children. Timeline. It is our goal to present recommendations to the Cape Coral City Council at the May 20th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting. I've also attached a PowerPoint that we'll place on our website, and again, as we all agree, the safety of our school children is paramount, and we all look forward to working together to achieve this goal. We hope to have at least the bus bench portion of this topic in place by the start of the school year. Thank you.
Thank you. And may I also suggest one of the reasons we wanted this meeting was for everybody to be in the same room at the same time, because there have been so many different groups, from the cities and the counties to the Benches for Babes to the Rotary Club. So if you are here and you are part of those groups, that we would encourage you to use this meeting as an opportunity to work together, to come together, to make introductions and do some networking so that we can all work together and solve this as a community issue. So those of you that are here from those groups, we would encourage you to take the time to meet the folks that are here that can help you, or with other nonprofits that are involved in these organizations and in these efforts to put the benches out, because we do support them, and we will do what we can to help you, but we also would like to get everybody together and working together. Next question or comment?
All right, I want to start by saying I don't really agree with the getting rid of school choice thing. That's kind of unfair to different demographics, but that's not what we're here for. I think I got solutions I think that will help. Maybe all the ideas that you just said, I can't remember his name, but he just said a bunch of things. Instead of doing them separate, why don't we do them together? Why don't you guys purchase a piece of land, put a fence up around it, a privacy fence, so the bus lights aren't getting in people's houses. You have buses there, and the parents drop their kids off there. They get right on the bus. The bus is there for maybe a half an hour. Instead of having bus drive around for different bus stops, maybe within a 5-mile radius, all the kids go there. They go to school, you know? Put a light there. You have maybe a resource officer there, or maybe a volunteer crossing guard, or whoever, someone there, so the parents feel safe that their kids are there. They don't have to wait in the rain because their bus is already there. The bus drivers aren't driving around wasting gas. You can use the money that you're saving from the gas to pay for the whole spot. You know what I mean? I assume a privacy fence costs like $7,000. One bus route for 3 months is probably more than $7,000. You would save that money just in that alone. And then speed bumps and a sign, something as simple as that. Try that 2 bus stops and see how it goes. If it works, put it at all of them. You don't have to tear anything up. You can just hammer a speed bump into the road. If it doesn't work, pull it right back up. That's all.
Thank you. Any response?
Just real quick response. One of the things that we are certainly looking at with our municipalities, when we had these conversations over at Cape Coral, and we can certainly also, I think, have these with our county and the city of Fort Myers. But if we look at where our permanent bus stops are year in and year out, and identify where those are, and then when we work with the city, we can establish, starting with bus seating, the benches, lighting, potentially signage, and then later on with an eye toward, making them more permanent. And to your point, and he's shaking his head, so I don't understand what.
That's not trying to solve it. If you really want to solve the problem, you do all at the same time. Not start with the bench and then do it. Because if you start with the bench, you got to stop with the bench. You're never going to put the light. You're never going to just do it all. You know what I mean? Just try to solve the problem. Instead of fix it a little bit, just solve the problem.
I understand. Well, thank you. The point is, you got a permanent stop. So if you have a permanent stop, then what we can do, we think if we can establish that and make that the culture in our community, because the culture has been, he will tell you, has been very, believe it or not, customer service oriented when we talk about bus stop changes. So how many bus stop changes do we make in the course of a year?
We've done over 16,000 already, just for parent requests, kids moving, mobility, changing schools. So we do whatever we can right now to make sure these kids get picked up and try to appease the parents as much as possible.
So if we can establish the infrastructure at a bus stop, make it permanent, make that a part of the culture, that the expectation is the student will be able to walk safely to this bus stop, then I think we can solve at least that part of the issue. The issue right now is lack of sidewalks, lack of, you know, the ability to walk to some of these areas, so we try to accommodate by being more customer focused and picking up the student closer to the house. So I think, again, if we work together as a community, then we can establish more permanent sites, which will be better for all of us. That we're working on right now.
All right, next.
Yep. Hello, I'm Mitch McCowan, Cape Coral resident, and I got 3 kids. And I don't want to repeat everything that's been, already been said today, but a few concerns. One thing that I didn't hear, obviously we know we'd like to have street lights and sidewalks, those. But when we can get the street lights up, it would be nice just to have some kind of marker so that people know that's a street light, a flashing yellow light like they have on top of the buses, something like that. Another thing I noticed, I was one of the people out putting out the benches. You got a bus stop at this corner and another bus stop at the next corner. Why can't we just make this bus stop both at this corner? Literally 1 street away. I've seen this multiple times, or 1 street away. And, my kid's bus stop is 1 street away. Why can't those kids be sitting at our bus stop? The bus comes 10 minutes difference. I think that would be another way to, cut the cost down on what we're trying to do. We're not wanting to tax everybody, and, realistically, you can only spend so much money that we're bringing in, and without raising taxes, we just got the half-cent increase. I don't know where you guys got that factored into our budget, but, I think for the county, a city, citywide, however, we should try to come up with some kind of fund. So we know so much is going to go into this fund for now and for the future, designated for school safety. One of the biggest things, like I said, I pushed before was just educating the kids, which we covered that, but yeah. And if we can, I know this isn't really a topic for today, but metal detectors in our schools, when we can get that, and maybe that can kind of go into that fund as well. We know they're talking about arming teachers, a lot of people for it, some people are for against it, but regardless, our kids need to be safe. And I don't have what the best answer is, but I think that would be a good way of leaning towards. I don't think it's scary. I think it's keeping our kids safe. And, at least an officer or somebody for every 200 or 450, 500 students should at least have 1 officer for that as well, too. And if we can, I'm hearing numbers that are a lot more inflated when they should be to getting these different things put into place, sidewalks, the benches, whatever. That, we can look at this as not a way to make for county or city to make money off of this, but to make the cost and really bid out the jobs to the people that are going to do the work for cheaper and still right. So, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, come on up.
My name's Diane Duncan. I'm just a concerned grandmother. I just wanted to thank you for giving us all the opportunity to share our thoughts and our hearts on this very important matter. My first thought is keeping kids safe. Adopt a bus stop in your neighborhood. We can do everything at our school to protect our precious children. Gates, deputies, sign in and out in the office, and at home. I pray parents are doing their best to keep their families safe. They're not left alone anywhere but the bus stop. Why at the bus stop? Where it's dark and the cars are driving. A stranger can pick them up. Also, there can be bad weather. 1 life is too great a price, but there's been 2, Alana and Layla. Parents, grandparents, neighbors, retirees, and if you go to work later, you can volunteer. 15 to 20 minutes sitting in your car at a bus stop in your neighborhood. Be a hero in your neighborhood. Adopt a bus stop. That was my first thought. Also, solar lights that stick in the ground. They can make drivers aware of children at the bus stop. They can be moved easily when there's no longer a bus stop there and changed. Another idea, which I've talked about a little bit, bus stop safety video at school orientation to teach children and parents safe places to stand and to always pay attention. Our eyes are our greatest tool. Let's use them wisely. Praying we can all prevent more tragedies of these precious, innocent children. Thank you for listening to this concerned grandmother.
Dr. Adkins. Thank you. Just trying to be real brief because I know everybody wants to talk and deserves to have their input. You know, I love those type of ideas. I think, you know, the particular one, adopt a bus stop, is something we would really like to see, you know, implemented, because, and it won't be a solution for every single bus stop, but it can certainly be a really good solution for many of our bus stops. The gentleman spoke about consolidation of bus stops, because we had two that are located close to each other. I think, again, that is something certainly they're working on. And then finally, because of the great partnership we have with the county and the city of Cape Coral, the city of Fort Myers, and Sanibel, we do have at least one school resource officer in every single one of our schools, and we couldn't do that without their amazing help. So, you know, again, this is an opportunity for me to thank you all personally for the wonderful work that you do to help support us with our students. So wanted everybody to know that they have stepped up to the plate so that we can all have a school resource officer in all of our schools.
And also, just another note, there was a safety section related just to bus safety, pedestrian, bike safety for our students that includes videos to our website, which is part of the materials distributed to teachers to be able to share with their students. It's available for you to watch at home, to share with your children. You can find it on our website. Show them those videos as part of our ongoing education effort to make sure that they're safe at the bus stop. Next.
Lou Navarra, former teacher. Let's take a look at a stat sheet, Duval versus Lee County Transportation. And I called Mr. Nelson, which is the equivalent to Roger Lloyd over there. Bus stops, Duval, 5,000. Buses, 850. Miles per day, 55,000. Students transported, 47,000. Deaths, none reported related to busing. Transportation budget, $63 million. Total students, 128,463. Now, Duval is second, we are third. Lee County, bus stops, 6,958. Buses, 750. Miles per day, 67,826. Students transported per day, 72,983. Deaths, 1. And I heard somebody got hit by a mirror the other day. Transportation budget, $60 million. Total students, 93,167 versus Duval, 128,463. We really need to shelve school choice. Duval uses a magnet system, and I have asked time and time again, let's outsource our bus system, let's outsource our custodians, substitutes, let them handle it and take care of it. They do a better job and save money, but it always falls on deaf ears, okay? And what are you going to do in daylight savings time if it gets approved for all year? Have these little children in the dark all the time. Now, here's your school board referendum project list, which we did a ½ cent, and the other ½ cent, I don't like going to the state, and you weren't honest about it. No one told us about that on the roundup. Hardened doors, okay, $57,400,000 you have for school safety. Let's use that, and let's do some of, and I hope we got rid of the AstroTurf. I think student safety is more important than AstroTurf on football fields, and these are your papers. Let's get some handy huts. The bus, like the city bus has. Yes. And 50 of them, and they'll work with us. I talked to them today. Maybe about 6,000 a hut, strategically placed, reduce your bus system of 6,000 stops, and we'll be safer. And take it out of our budget, take it out of our ½ cent sales tax money right here. Safety and security. That's what it is. Quit begging people to take picnic tables, benches. Some people already stole the benches. And I have the stuff, and I've brought it to you. I've talked to the school board, most of the members. Some of them don't return my calls, but that's okay. I really don't care. Let's finish this. Bob Chamanek predicted this. He predicted this death in so many ways when he was a school board member, and I admired that fellow, and I worked with him at Calusa Middle. Chemonic said, school choice has not improved academic performance in some schools, and that district spends too much on transportation. He will propose a plan to be more like Palm Beach County, turning elementary and middle schools back into neighborhood schools, leaving all the high schools as magnets, which Duval County has done. The system failed, Chemonic said. We should use that money to equalize programs in all schools instead of burning it up on transportation. We are under no court orders for desegregation. In fact, we are really segregated here. They even dropped Robert E. Lee on his head the other day. I'm tired. You don't listen. You don't listen. You do not listen.
Thank you.
And you've got the money. Don't say you don't have the money. You have the money. Thank you.
Please remember, it's a chance to be, we want everybody to be respectful.
Well,
and
I'm
stay
respectful.
On the topic at hand, which is improving students.
I'm aggravated. I don't like death of a child.
I'd just like the opportunity, he put a lot out there, but first of all, I think, we do look at other districts, when we look at our transportation system. Duval County is one that we've looked at. The concern that you have if you outsource is you then take the background screening of those employees and you put it on a private agency. We've found in Lee County that sometimes when you do that, they often hire the people that we either won't hire or we terminate in order to save costs. And that's an issue that if you talk to, we've talked to union officials about Duval County and Jacksonville, and they've had issues up there with privatization. So that is not as clean as it would sound, and in a similar fashion, you'll see that in other districts that had to privatize custodians, because you lose a certain degree of control in terms of who you hire, fire, and bring into your schools. So, that is something that we always have to consider. And don't think we don't consider outsourcing. It's something that fiscal responsibility would urge us to look at that, but you also have to look at the whole picture when you make those types of considerations. Lee County, whether we like it or not, we have some obstacles in transportation that we don't often talk about. You have a river that runs through the middle of Lee County. You have more canals than Venice, Italy in Lee County. So that has some transportation challenges. We are such a tourist destination and a winter destination that puts a lot of traffic on our road that you don't see in all other municipalities, and so you really, that puts a strain on our system. You get out there during season, it requires us to drive routes that are longer and pay more dollars in terms of overtime. So those are all things that get factored in. And Palm Beach and places like that, some of the other things that we do not have in our community that some of those other places like Broward, Miami-Dade have, is they have transit systems that do transport a significant portion of their students to and from schools that we simply do not have. Lee-Tran does not have that capability to do that. They can do some arterial routes for us. Those are the cheapest routes. The expensive routes are the ones that we're left to do. So these are all things that we have to think about, not that all of, we discount. Those are just, he says, Lou, I know you say you don't listen, but we do listen and consider all of those things when we are making decisions as it relates to our transportation system. Again, elimination of school choice, still you have to factor in, you can't go to strictly neighborhood schools because of where schools are currently located. And just think about some of them. They're located, many of them are together, clumped, because that's where the land was available at the time. And I gave the example in Cape Coral. Cape Coral Elementary, no place down in southeast Cape Coral that was affordable with a big chunk of land where we could afford to put a school. So we bought land that was more in the center of Cape Coral, and you have more schools concentrated there. So you can do a proximity-based system that gets kids closer to school, but if you go strict neighborhood to neighborhood, that's something that we would not be able to do because of, again, where these schools are located. And finally, we forget that the boundary system led to a lot of problems that we don't often talk about because it's been such a long time ago. We made this transition in 1998. Prior to that, you know, we still had a lot of growth, which we have in Lee County still to this day, so we always had to change boundaries. We had situations where a kid would start as a kindergartner and they would have to change, you know, 2 more times, so they may have 3 schools before they even moved into middle school because of the boundary changes. And there's where there is no choice. You have to leave your friends and go to this other school because you live on that side of Daniels instead of this side of Daniels. And so that filled up boardrooms, you know, because people were upset about their grade school child having to change. And we are still growing at that rate. And you say, well, then you need to grandfather. Well, if you grandfather it, that means that you leave the kid until they graduate, then you're never able to get out of that issue. So you can't, you won't solve the problem. You still will have the busing issue that you had before. So again, just want to be able to provide all the context to some of the solutions that were proposed.
Our virtual audience has been asking some questions, so let's check in with what's coming in through the email and on Facebook. Lauren?
So just a couple of solutions and then one question. One of the solutions comes from Donna that suggests that we look into federal and state grants for sidewalks and streetlights and things, and said that maybe we'd be able to find some money there that would be able to help us to build some of those sidewalks and put in those streetlights. Jennifer on Facebook writes speed bumps in residential roads. She says way too many people are in a hurry every day. I sit with my daughter and watch people go 60 down my 35-mile-an-hour road at 6:20 in the morning. So she's suggesting speed bumps. And then a question for Roger from Amy. And Roger, if you could use the microphone to answer this. She's wondering why we don't send school buses into the neighborhoods, into the gated communities. And I know we talked about that earlier, so I thought it might be worth addressing for Amy.
Actually, that comes from the state. That's school law. We are supposed to keep the buses on public roads. So we are supposed to be picking the kids up where public and private road meets, which for all these developments are out on a main road. We do go into some communities. We actually have a hold harmless. There are instances where it is the safest stop. The one I want to bring up is Bellaterra of Corkscrew. For us to go down there, it is safer for us to go in, and we just go in maybe a quarter of a mile, we turn around and come back out. But it's the safest spot for the kids to actually stay there in the mornings. It's also the safest turnaround. If not, we have to go another 4 or 5 miles down to the country store there. So legally, it's a gray area. We are told not to. There are some that we do go into because it is in the best interest of the students.
Thank you, Roger. Your question or comment or suggestion?
A suggestion and also a comment. My name is Anthony Leon Chapman. I'm a local pastor and a truck driver. Been a truck driver 33 years, been a pastor 20 years. And I don't think just a children problem, it's a human problem. Because everybody's out early, late. I mean, kids gonna be picked up early. If they got activities, they're gonna be dropped off late. But most kids, most everybody has a backpack. I know you guys have the lights, LED lights that you clip on the backpack. Most kids are gonna take them off. I don't know if you can see that, it's about dead. But this is called flash pack. This is called flash pack. You know, all the officers that I know, they wear vests to protect them, you know. Kids put one of these on, the light's there, it's money, you have to worry about it coming off, falling off. It's there. You know, I had this pattern since 2013. I started it in 2011. My youngest kid was at University of Central Florida. I was just messing around with it. She got with me and said, "Dad, what you do with that idea?" I said, she said she Googled it, find out, you know, what was going on. I did a patent search. I got with a patent attorney, proceeds, and here I am. And to be honest with you, I had it just sitting on the shelf. into this story, but this is a current thing that's happening since I've been in school. If you just Google how many kids been hit south of Florida, it's a lot of them. You know, all I'm saying is we got to stop playing the blame game. Brother, you keep doing what you're doing. I think you're doing a good job. That's just my opinion. You know, I don't know you personally, but, you know, in the news, my iPhone, I see what's going on. You know, we got to say what we can do. Your president means more than you will ever know. We got to stop blaming people. You know, I love Lee County, born and raised here. You know what I'm saying? So we said, oh, this community this community that, this. All lives matter. What can you do? Stop blaming everybody else. You make a difference. God bless you.
Thank you.
Been waiting for this one.
Come on up.
My baby's sick, although she's making me look like a liar. So pretty sure most of you know who I am. And in my resume, I'm going to add professional public speaker because I feel like I'm on round 4. To be honest, I'm not into politics. I didn't know any of your names until about 3 weeks ago. My name's Randy Romanoff, and I'm one of the founders for Lights for Layla. One of my best friends, Kathleen Aiken, is also the mother to Layla Aiken. As we all know, Layla was just 8 years old when she was ran over tragically and killed while waiting for her bus stop in North Cape Coral. Each time I've made a public speech, it's been about facts, statistics, what we're doing as a community, and our foundation, Lights for Layla. But tonight, I just wanted to ask you guys a couple questions. First, I would like to thank you, because after I publicly announced that the school district of Lee County and transportation, take her out, refused to switch Layla's twin brother's bus stop, Kathleen received a call the following day letting her know that it had been changed, and we are really grateful for that, and I think maybe you guys had something to do with that, so thank you. As the founder for Lights for Layla, we want to know where we go from here. Talking about school choice, I don't think that's something that can be done immediately, so if not, what can we do in the meantime? And I know a lot of that has been answered, but I'm talking specifically from us as a community, not as you guys behind closed doors. I just think we can all agree that we need an immediate change, and waiting a year or two on sidewalks to start or school choice just isn't an option for us right now, especially with another child being hit just a week ago. So what's the fastest thing that we can do as a community besides educating our children? Because, I mean, let's be honest, sometimes my 6-year-old, you know, she's out there with my older kids. It's not her responsibility. At the end of the day, she's only 6. And sometimes she's gonna forget to, you know, step back 6 feet away from the bus stop, or there just has to be something else that can be done right now specifically. And then I wanted to ask you too, how accurate are the numbers on those bus stop changes? Because I was told that every time a child is enrolled in school, they automatically have a bus stop. So when the child begins to be parent pickup, that's counted as a bus stop change. If that's the case, those numbers are not accurate at all. I mean, they're so far off. My children have been assigned a different bus 4 times for no reason. So I guess that's just a few of what I had. My baby kind of messed me up, so.
All right, just real quickly, when you say your bus has changed, are you looking at changing the bus number or the stop times?
No, when I enrolled them in school, they were given a bus automatically, and you know, in the beginning of the year, they didn't ride the bus. So my daughter just started riding the bus, giving me a heart attack. But then the bus number was changed because the first one was a temporary, so.
Okay, and there could be a couple reasons. Anytime a student moves to a new school or a new student comes into the district, they'll go to the school, they'll give the address. Mm-hmm. So what the schools can do is they actually punch in the home address. If there is a stop location that is close to your house, that's easy. You can have that stop that day. The school will write that down. That'll be the permanent stop. However, many times that's not a close enough stop. The parents are given the option of driving their student to that stop, and they can use that until we can develop or create another stop closer to that house. And that could be one of the reasons why. And that usually takes anywhere between, we say 3 and 10 days, depending on the time of the year. A lot of times when we add a stop, we take a stop out, it changes the route times. So what we need to do is we need to give the parents a 3-day notice. So if you've been picked up every day at 8:05, and then we have to add a stop, your stop time might change to 7:45. Well, we need to give the parents some time. So you'll see changes that way throughout the year as far as the time goes. As far as the actual bus numbers, we've been very fortunate, and I should thank the board here. In the last few years, we've bought nearly 400 new buses. So we are still getting buses. We have another 47 that should be here. They're going to start coming in at the end of the month. So what we do is when a new bus comes in, we actually trade them out for some of the older buses. So you'll see changes in that regard as well. So we're changing out the newer buses with the older buses.
So just maybe to clarify, when we say 16,000 or whatever it is, what constitutes a bus change? Is it all of those things, or?
Right.
Those would be location changes where we actually have to add or stop. A lot of times it'll just be adding it back in, but these are changes in routes where we have to actually change the routes. If you come in, you might be along the route of a bus, but your best location or stop position is going to be stop number 8. So what we have to do is reroute the bus and then put your stop in there. So yes, we change times all the time. That gets changed. We're looking at the location changes for the mobility of the students and kids that switch schools throughout the year, that type of changes.
Okay, and there can't be anything done to, stabilize? There's got to be another way to not have bus stops all over the place and switching every 3 days.
Well, and we talk about semi-permanent stops. It is a great idea. If you're looking at transportation, it's cost efficient. It'll shorten the routes. To be honest, it makes my job a lot easier. I'm going to tell you where the problem is. When you have this, and we have parents that we now say, okay, here is the stop location, it's 2 miles from your house. Not every parent can drive that 2 miles. So where that child right now might walk 3 blocks or 4 blocks, now we're saying, now you have to go 2 miles to get there. So what it is, we talk about the lighting, the lack of sidewalks, this comes up. But by going to the semi-permanent routes, we really are going to be forcing kids now to walk further distances to those stops. Now, you can say it is. If the parents want to drive them, absolutely. It actually, transportation-wise, would be the easiest and best things. But I don't know if that's the best things for the kids. I'm going to be honest. I'm a parent. I have 4 kids. So it's easy to say we can buy some land, we can put some lights up there. Oh, I'm with you. And there's situation where that makes sense.
16,000 bus stops.
And I've had many people, we've been working with CAPE. Well, no, and believe me, I understand completely. And they say the same thing. How can you keep doing this? The directive we have right now is we're not going to break any state laws, any state regulations. We're not going to break school board policy. And we're not going to inconvenience any other students. If we're not doing that, we're going to do everything in our power to appease the parents. We're going to do everything we can. We're customer service. So we're going to try to get the stops as close as we can without inconveniencing any other students.
But I think moving forward, I think we've had this suggestion that's come up a few times, and as we look at the permanent bus stops and working with our municipalities, I think we can establish a certain number of these bus stops that we can say these are not changing. And then if you have somebody move in here and has to walk a certain degree of distance to get to that bus stop, as long as that walk is a safe walk, then part of what we have to start understanding as a school community is that it's going to become an expectation that as long as the conditions are safe to get to that stop, that we can establish a safer stop where we can all agree is the best for our students. That's where I think we have an opportunity to go to from here.
Well, if
would help.
If we do what we need to do with school choice, though, that would kind of eliminate a lot of the bus stop issues and transportation as far as going down to the closest schools to your house. But that, I mean, we all know that that's going to take so long. I mean, just sidewalks itself is going to be years. I mean, she'll be grown and out of school by the time they see a sidewalk in North Cape Coral. You know, she'll probably be graduating high school by then. So I guess we just want something done right now. I mean, I know things take time and things take money, but as a community, we've all stepped up and done everything that we can do on our end. So where do you guys match our effort and our work?
I just want to make a comment as well, and I hear what you're saying. I think one of the beauties of having the community here tonight and the other officials, and I've heard several people say, what are we going to do right now? So perhaps we can hear from some of the other officials of the things that are immediate. I've heard examples of things like getting with LCEC and where there are lights, making them brighter lights. That's immediate. You change the bulb and you make it brighter. And I understand you're saying we need to do something right now, and perhaps that's what we need to maybe hear from some of the other officials as well as some of the things that are immediate that we can do that would help to alleviate some of these fears, if anyone else would like to.
But in terms of what you can do right now?
I mean, yeah, I guess, what else can we done? I mean, the benches group has put out, you know, benches. We've raised awareness, money. I mean, I know the Rotary Club is on top of things as far as they've already submitted an official bench to the city. I mean, to be fair, I think the city of Cape Coral is pretty on board. Every meeting that I've been at, every city council member that I've spoken to directly is pretty much on board and is ready to change ordinances and stuff. It's just transportation and the school district that's holding everything up from what we understand.
Well, I'll give you my perspective on that. I know that we met with the city of Cape Coral, and we've made our staff available and a part of this task force so that we can coordinate efforts in terms of where we put bus stops. So, you know, I've directed my staff, and Roger and Rick can attest to this, that they are to make themselves available so that we are able to accomplish these things. I was talking to Roger DeJarlais earlier, and again, I don't want to speak for you, but you know, you can if you'd like, but I know that he is already working in Lehigh to do a similar thing with buses, and we are coordinating efforts to locate where these semi to permanent bus locations are so we can drive community resources to those. What I would say to all of you, you're engaged now, is to stay engaged, because I do firmly believe this is a community effort. School district can't do it on its own, because we've got issues that we have to tackle together. So if what you've done to this point is great, where these efforts tend to fizz out, and then everybody forgets until the next tragedy, you know, and this can't happen. No one's
gonna forget Layla Adkins.
Okay, I can't imagine, but I will give you another example that is similar, that's based on a children's tragedy, which is we had Club Blue shooting that occurred in our community not too long ago. And one of the things that Jared Eady said as we were talking, you know, at a candlelight vigil, is Jared Eady said he challenged the whole community right there. We all spoke, you know, mayors and officials, myself. But Jared said, when are we going to quit talking about things and actually do something about it? So he did, and we've got a number of initiatives that are going on in our school district because of Mr. Eady and because of our engaged community in that particular region of our community, and it's making a difference in the lives of children. So I think that if we stay engaged, we can make a difference in this issue. Right now, I would say stay engaged, Lights for Layla, raising the money, working with the community to establish you know, the bus stops, safer bus stops. But long term, we have to keep it up because I think we still have a lot of issues we have to take on as a community that we have to solve. And if we don't solve it today, what about your kids' kids? You know, because my kid had this issue when she was a kid, okay, and now she's an adult, you know, and it's still an issue. And so let's not stop, but let's keep going until we solve it.
Yeah, that's a long time to have the same issue, I feel like.
Tell me how. What I said right now is that we need to stay engaged right now with what she's doing, and we need to stay engaged doing what we're doing. Oh. Okay. One, it's not a simple fix. Okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. What we're doing now is we're continuing to work with our county and local municipalities in terms of where are our bus stops and making sure that if we have a bench, we have a place to put that bench. And so we're working to do that right now. We're working on a task force to try to look at other things that we can do as a community to help solve this problem. We're doing that right now. I already said we have been working on the proximity-based student assignment system. We're doing that right now. We heard people talk about the establishment of more permanent bus stops. That's something that we're doing right now. We talked about education. We are currently involved. If you go to our website, there's a lot of information there, and we've also been communicating with our schools and our school principals and our staff to make sure that we're educating our kids better. So we are doing things right now. And I'm sorry, I don't agree that bus benches, that is not the only solution to this problem. You can disagree with me, and we'll disagree to disagree.
All right, we're ready to move on to the next speaker. Your suggestion?
Hello, I'm John Jacobs, president of the Northwest Cape Neighborhood Association. I represent over 1,200 members who are taxpayers of the Northwest Cape area. Expecting children to walk the bus stops during pre-dawn times in the streets with flashlights is a complete disregard for their safety. Also expecting children to cross major roadways in total darkness to get to their bus stops or schools is poor judgment. In the opinion of many of the Northwest Cape residents, there needs to be changes adopted, and they need to be changed right now. First change is reducing the school of choice offerings for elementary and middle schools. Offering 2 or 3 schools which are geographically closest to a student's home is more than reasonable. Currently in the Northwest Cape area, there are 14 elementary schools offered and 7 middle schools offered. If this is properly implemented before the next school year, the benefits will be a major reduction in busing cost, a major reduction in the amount of school bus traffic, a major reduction in the amount of school bus stops, and a major reduction in student pickups during pre-dawn times. The second change is figuring out how to stop the pre-dawn school bus stop pickups altogether. In the Cape, with a lack of sidewalks and streetlights, your current scheduling methods are a major contribution to this unsafe condition to our children. The third change is providing school bus transportation to any elementary or middle school student that doesn't meet the 2-mile minimum, but would have to cross a major road to get to school. Those children need to be considered also. Finally, do not schedule bus stops on Burnt Store Road. It has no legitimate crosswalks or stoplights. All vehicles are traveling at least 60 miles per hour. One other suggestion I have, and I heard Dr. Adkins say that the South Cape area is underserved with regards to elementary and middle school. I know that the Cape is in the process of looking at purchasing an abandoned golf course, which I believe it's 175 acres. You might want to partner up with them and maybe build a school or two there. Just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Next.
Good evening. My name is Frank Kobor. Currently an independent solar consultant and president of a new foundation that's going to be coming on board as soon as we hear back from the state. And I would like to have a meeting with the school board as to the bus stops that are most vulnerable and how many in their locations, so we can put that in our grant proposal that's going to go out as soon as we find these stats. My CFO and I, we're about the community, and we would just like to be able to come out and help the community to put solar street lights in those positions, and we're hoping if we can get the grant process and get out in the next 30 to 40 days, I'm looking to put 100 solar powered street lights in the ground between now and the next school year.
Thank you. Next.
I won't be that bad, Greg, I promise. I'll be nice this time. Before I start, I want to say thank you to everybody out there putting benches up. I'm a dad, and I'm a dad first and foremost. And that is a lot of hard work that they have put in every weekend. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but I've seen them out there on the weekends, Saturday, Sunday, putting in a lot of work to make sure our kids are safe. As everyone up there knows, I have 2 kids, 2 14-year-old kids. My daughter, she's 14, and she's still my little princess. I like to think she's still 6 years old at times. So I couldn't imagine something happened to my kid. I sat up here, and I fought this fight 8 years ago for streetlights, Greg. We should have been doing something then. Not wait until now. Now it's too late. Now something tragic has happened. I hear a lot of talk. I want to see a lot of action. But I do have a couple solutions and a couple ideas. First, when we start talking about school choice, to tell us why we can't get rid of school choice and all the problems that it's going to cause, well, we don't do that with our kids. We always encourage our kids and try to find the solutions. That's what we need to be looking at, is the solutions, how to get rid of school choice. No one wants to hear what the difficulty is going to be. We know it can be done. We've seen many communities do it. But if you also want to look at our transportation expenditure, we have the 9th largest school district in the state of Florida. We have the 5th largest transportation expenditure. Those numbers don't lie. There's a problem. And that money can be put into school safety. But let's start looking at another aspect where we can improve on the school safety. As I think a board member said one time, Ms. Fisher, if you want an honest answer, ask a kid. We need to start going to our kids in these schools and asking them how they feel about these school safeties, these bus stops, and what they think we need to do to make them safer. Let's encourage them to get them involved. Because I'm going to tell you what, I've actually sat down and talked to my kid about some of these issues, and I think it's something that we need to embrace and look at with our young. They have good answers. But I also got one more challenge for you. Dr. Adkins, to the board. This Friday, November 19th, I challenge each one of you to meet me at a bus stop at 6 o'clock. It's on the corner of Northeast 2nd Place and Northeast 23rd Street. You want to see what these kids are going through? Meet me there Friday. Or let me stand there by myself like you do our kids.
Just a couple things. First of all, just a reminder, we got Good Friday coming up, so we don't have school. But, you know, at some point, I'm sure we'd be open to doing that. Second thing is, remember, I keep saying proximity-based student assignment. That is a change to the school choice system, proximity-based student assignment. So that's something that you'll be hearing more about, I hope, moving forward, that will help us with a lot of these issues related to school choice. So you heard about 14 choices, 17 choices. We're talking about reducing that to, you know, 4, 5, 6 choices maximum, you know, and based on where an address is. And I understand there was a issue raised about, well, you got to consider diversity within the community, and that is, and you got to consider socioeconomics and all of these type of things, which is a portion of diversity, and that has to be a part of any proximity-based system. So that is something that we are really wanting to move forward. Finally, again, when I'm talking about the challenges of transportation, it's not just you know, the school. It's not the school choice issue, even though that's certainly a part of it. But the other part of it is the infrastructure issue, the Lee County's layout, as I talked about. Palm Beach has the ability to go into a big neighborhood with an 82-passenger bus and load everybody up and take them to a single school. We don't have that capability right now. If we do proximity-based student assignment, we can do more of those types of solutions, but they don't have all of those challenges that we do in terms of the river and the canals, and they do have some of the seasonal things that we do, but not all the communities in Florida have that, and we're one of only 6 communities in the state of Florida that's growing at the rapid rate at which we're growing. So all of those things are factors in our transportation system that have to be considered. And the last thing, just to address the streetlights issue, when you talk about referendum money, sales tax money, those are projects that were literally in the referendum that are for schools or existing property, school district-owned property. So capital improvement in those areas, or technology in a school. So you don't have the ability to take that and buy streetlights. Capital outlay dollars it's very clear in the statute in terms of, again, we have to expend those dollars on our property, on our projects within our property, and so you can't use those dollars to you know, build things on somebody else's land. So that's just something that has come up a couple of times that I just thought I would take advantage and address.
Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt, but if we came up with our own grant money, would you allow us to put the streetlights on your property?
Yeah, any type you do, grant money, fundraising, those types of things, the answer to that question is a simple yes.
Done.
I need to be mindful of the time, and we're coming up into our last few minutes here because we promised our guests and our audience that we would conclude this at 7:30, so we only have a few minutes left for that. So we really just have time for one more comment and then some closing remarks. So if we can just get our one last speaker, and then we'll have some closing remarks before we go. So.
My name is Jessica Fennell. I run the Benches for Babes in North Fort Myers. I just want to make it clear, we don't just place benches. We are voices for our community, so we're not just getting bench requests. People are messaging, emailing us about their issues. So one of them starts with our bus drivers. My 6-year-old, me, and another lady were almost hit by the bus driver on Friday. My 6-year-old's terrified to ride the bus. He's terrified he won't make it home because they pass his bus stop. They're an hour late every night. They're an hour late in the mornings. He's been late to school because they don't show up. Also, how about a high school girl? She crosses Bayshore Road. Why don't you go cross Bayshore Road at 6 a.m.? How many cars are there? It's rush hour. high school girl. I wouldn't cross Bayshore Road. Also, some of our benches are placed in spots that we can chain them to, and I got a message today, a bus driver would not drive 20 more feet forward to pick the children up at the bench. They made the children cross the road. The bus drivers need to be retrained, and also when we call the bus station, we're getting hung up on, we're getting lied to. They say, oh, your bus is the next bus stop over. I can see the next bus stop over. They're not there. An hour later, my bus still isn't here for my kid. And then I'm told my kid should know where his bus stop is. He is 6 years old. It is not his responsibility to know where his bus stop is. They have maps for a reason. And that's all I gotta say, because I'll keep getting more angry.
All right, before you leave, I do apologize, because that's on us. If that's happening, absolutely. Mr. Perdue is back there. Can you raise your hand, Mr. Perdue? Can you please see him before you leave so we can get your information and let us look into it, and we'll give you a call back tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, one more thing, real quick. Saturday, we're having a build event. I invite all of you to join, since we haven't seen any of your faces there, to join our community. I believe it's 2920 Runway Street? Yes.
2920 Runway Street.
Why don't you come join our community and see what we're doing? We're building more benches this Saturday at 9 a.m.
Thank you. We will continue to stream our event until the 4 speakers that are in line have had their chance. So we'll continue our meeting just a little bit longer. I want to let you know. Up next, come on up.
Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. One thing that I want to address is people are talking about the children being in dark colored clothing and they're hard to see. Maybe we need to look at the school dress code, because a lot of that involves dark colored clothing. One of the things that I really have asked numerous times is, I've heard you guys say that before the child gets on the school bus, they are the parent's responsibility, correct? So when a parent has a concern over the safety of their child's bus stop, and they go to the school board and ask the school board to look into the child's bus stop, why is that denied? Why is it zoned into being in proximity of the house? My daughter, who was in elementary school, was getting picked up on Diplomat. People were flying by her bus. They were not stopping. I've had to call CCPD to have them come out and monitor her bus. There was no street light, and that's what my daughter was getting on the school bus for. And I was present. I was there. I want to know why the kids are being picked up on main roads. You were boasting about the safe place that the kids were getting picked up in the development. Why aren't all these kids getting picked up in a safe spot? Why is that the only place that you were able to sit and be proud about? Don't our children deserve to have a safe spot to be picked up? Don't our children deserve to have a safe spot to stand while they wait for their school bus? When I send my kids, and I am a mother of 7, when I send my kids out that door, I do not expect my kids to get hit by a car. The subbusing in the Northwest is atrocious. I've heard numerous people say that, why was Layla standing out at the school bus 20 minutes before her bus, 30 minutes before her bus? Because you do not know when your bus is coming. You do not know when your bus is arriving. You're just standing there waiting. I want to know why we can't combine junior and senior high school together. It's like that up north. Why can't it be like that down here? Why can't junior and senior high school start at 7:30 and elementary start at 8:30? It can't be too hard to manage. I'm sure it's not going to affect the busing system. Why can't that be done? And that's all I have to say.
And again, I'm going to have to apologize for the busing issues.
I don't want your apologies.
I understand.
I fought that, and this was years ago that I fought that. And this is continuing to go on. This was 4 years ago that that happened. And this is continuing to go on. It needs to stop. It's not an apology. These are our kids.
I understand.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't get a response.
Hi, my name's Tammy. I have 4 children from 27 to down to 6. He actually just turned 7 years old. I've also talked to Mr. Perdue. My son's school bus is in the middle of the street, which is on Southwest 10th, which is the street that combines between Chiquita and Skyline. So everybody's always speeding down this road. And it's literally, and I have pictures of my son's bus stop, it's in the front of an empty lot. I've asked it to be moved several times since the beginning of the school year. We're almost done with the school year. I'm not from Cape Coral. I'm from up north. I've never seen something so unorganized. Thank God for my sister to help me pick up my son, because last month alone, 10 times, his bus never showed up at the school to take him home. I'm a single parent. So for me to keep on leaving work, I would have lost my job. So I started calling the Board of Education building. Got nothing but 10 answer machines. It took Purdue at least 2 weeks to call me back. I'm not here to blame anybody. I just think you guys should be more organized, especially with your staff. And if there is a big concern of a child's bus stop that has at least, at the beginning of the school year, there was 10 kids. I get it. People move consistently out here. That's one thing I've learned fast. But now, it's still there. Do you know how to call the police station in Cape Coral? They literally moved faster than the Board of Education did, or transportation. They were at the bus stop. They stayed down the street at the stop sign to make sure that everybody was slowing down. I mean, how long are we going to do? This is a whole year. I've been complaining since the first day of the school year. I mean, you saying you're going to do something? This should have been taken care of. This bus stop's in the middle of the street. My sister almost got hit, and she's 47 years old. And I'm not from here, so I just don't see where the organization is not getting organized. What is a priority? Priority is, one, move the bus stop. It has not been moved. Nobody has an answer. Everybody's blaming somebody else. Do you know this principal at Skyline actually got tired of hearing me? She said, what did they say to you? I said, it's your fault. I called transportation. They said it's the school's fault. I said, how come the parents are not getting phone calls that the school bus is not showing up? Called transportation. They told me it was the school's fault. So everybody's too busy blaming everybody else, but you need to really organize yourself. I've been in a hospital for 18 and a half years. If something's not working, you need to restructure yourself to make it work. It's like you going into the hospital saying, I'm dying here, do something for me. What are you going to do? We're going to sit there and help you to keep you alive, right? It's the same thing. Restructure yourself, reorganize yourself, because what you're doing now is not working at all. I'm upset because my 7-year-old has to sit in a car and I have to worry every morning, and I have to sit there and communicate with my sister to make sure he got on the bus safe. Now I had to put him an extended day after school that's costing me almost $300 a month for a single parent. It's costing me, not you, not transportation, costing me. So I bet you after this, even though complaining all year round, and my odds of getting that bus stop moved for next year for him, I don't know. That's another big concern.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the Board of Education going to say anything? You're going to, because I even had him. I even talked to the safety patrol.
When you're finished,
I'm sorry. I even talked to safety patrol. Nobody's doing nothing.
So I'm going to just respond to you the best way I can. It's not necessarily going to be what you want to hear, but it's going to be, you know, I think an honest answer is. And you know, one of the things that when you look at the sheer number of school bus stop changes that occur in the course of a year, it's overwhelming. We do have a human capital issue here. So if we want to put more resources toward it, we can certainly do that. And that is something that I hear we probably are going to need to do. In addition to that, though, I think if we are able to get some real traction on the permanent bus stops and get real buy-in around these permanent bus stops, that also decreases the number of bus stop changes. But one of the things that we struggle with from a transportation perspective is this number of bodies to be in transportation responding to all these calls. And when you are growing as a school district, your costs are going up, you know, in terms of just consumer costs going up 3% a year, and you're getting an increase of 1% toward operating, it becomes a human capital issue. You know, one of the things that we've had to do is make some tough decisions around staffing and projects this year just to remain competitive with employee compensation. And so all that comes at a cost. You know, Florida, and I'm just going to say it, I mean, in terms of how we fund schools up north and how we fund schools in Florida, we don't fund them like we do in most municipalities. We typically rank, depending on which poll you look at, we rank at the bottom. So I think that if part of solving this issue is being able to fund the human capital that we need to be able to keep up with the requests that our community have. So staffing transportation at a level that is very responsive to customers comes at a cost.
But I'm not asking just the response from your staff member. I asked for the bus stop to be moved to a stop sign that's like literally 10 feet away or so. We even asked the bus driver, don't you think it's safer to pick the kids up at the stop sign instead of in the middle of the road? And she said no, she can't make that choice. So how hard is it, because it's not costing anybody, to move the bus stop to the stop sign where, just to let you know, my son's bus is the only one that gets picked up in the middle of the street. Everybody else's, and I've counted them, at least 8 buses that come on that street, they pick them on each stop sign. Each stop sign. My son's the only bus in the middle of the street. So do you think there's an issue with that? It's not costing anybody to move it.
Well, just hearing what you have to say, I mean, it sounds reasonable to me.
I think so too.
I don't know the whole context, but you know, just based on what you're saying.
I don't want to prolong this. We will most definitely check this out again. I will tell you this. We do have a checklist from the state that we have to go through. If it is a controlled stop, which a stop sign would be, we have to be at least 200 feet from that. If it is a non-controlled, where there's no stop signs or anything else, we have to be 50 feet from that. And it has to do with the cars behind our buses stopping, getting back up to speed, and then stopping. So we are supposed to be 200 feet.
I got you, but why is the other 8 buses that pass that same street sitting there picking other kids up at the stop sign?
And that's something we're going to have to look at.
And they have 2 kids they're picking up. My son's bus, they have 6 kids that are in the middle of the street. And yes, half the parents are not even there. Actually, it's only me or my sister that's there.
We will definitely look into it.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Next.
Good evening. Ed Bolter, representing the Rotary Club of downtown Cape Coral. As most of you know, I'm part of the stakeholders team that has been meeting. A week ago, when we were here at the school board meeting, I told you this was going to be a tough paper route. It's only growing. It's getting bigger and bigger every day. Kudos to the benches for babies, the Lights for Layla group. I mean, these people have shown you what community willpower can accomplish, and they're doing it fabulously. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight was I have a contract here for 200 benches to be deployed as soon as we go through the resolution that's scheduled for May 6th. We will be ordering those 200 benches immediately. However, there's a significant problem. We're a very practical club. We know how to get things done. One of the problems is the unique, not so unique, but for Cape Coral, we have an unusual swale system. It's for their drainage. You can't put a slab at every bus stop. So you have to come up with rather unique ways to anchor the bus stops so that they won't end up walking off. These are the kind of problems that we are resolving. We also have a contact that we're looking at. And I'm not familiar enough with all the bus stops. Do you have a school bus stop sign at every stop? Okay. Is that possible? because we have found a solution for the lighting. There is a light out there, solar powered, that will fit on the top of the pole of that school bus stop. And we're getting a quote now so that we can do a twofold approach, both the bench and the solar-powered light. But we need to have some type of signage on site to attach it to. Our bench is, simply not enough. But that's what we're prepared to do. Subject to quote, we'll get it done. But I need to get the map. We've been after, at our stakeholders meeting, we asked for a map with the semi-permanent bus stops. Ideally, we'd like to start with the ones where the kids are out there early in the morning, in dark, so that we can start with the lighting and the benches and the slabs immediately. And one of the things, City Manager Zerlag had a really impressive PowerPoint presentation. We recognize this is a big wheel with lots of spokes. We're trying to be able to take off, and I think some of the other members here, something that we can address immediately. While y'all are studying the issue and getting funding and getting started with engineering and all of that, we can make other things happen. That's what we're after, is having this. And keep in mind, City Council goes on hiatus in, I don't know how long from now, but it's usually about a month and a half that they're closed for policy purposes. So we got to work around these schedules. If we're going to meet the new school year deadline, we've got to get help from y'all to supply us the information that we need. We have time right now to be doing the homework for individual locations, but you got to help us.
Yes.
Bill, do you have those? Do you have the maps and the list of the stops?
Bill Corbett, City Traffic Engineer, City of Cape Coral. So we do not have the list of all of the bus stops. We do have the 673 locations that are considered semi-permanent. That has been through our annual street light process where we are lighting those semi-permanent bus stops. We do have a subcommittee, as Mr. City Manager mentioned before, which does include the Rotary Club, staff from Lee County School District as well as Lee County. We're working on scheduling a meeting. I think during that meeting we could probably discuss the parameters and the information requested and look at how we can get that delivered.
Absolutely no disrespect intended. However, if we wait for every time you guys are going to have a meeting, nothing gets done. It's been a week since our task force meeting. What does it take to get a list of semi-permanent bus stops so we can act? That's all we're asking for. I mean, if you got it, because a week ago you didn't have it, so why can't we get it? We're ready to move and go look at every one of these stops, determine what's needed. A slab, vertical anchors, whatever it takes, we've got to be able to come up with a solution. We can't do that without the information.
We'll work toward working.
You have my email address. Will you send it to me?
I'll work on finalizing that list with the school district and getting that out as soon as possible.
Thank you.
And our last speaker, thank you.
Oh yes, the last speaker. Marv Getz, and I represent no one tonight except the children. And I would like to ask a couple of questions. Number one, I have a suggestion, and I can't see why it can't be feasible. How many here have had juniors or seniors as children, or your own children? How many have them? Yeah, you raise your hands. How many of those children, when they become 15, they say, Mom, Dad, can I get my driver's license? You're darn right. Every one of those kids, 15, or as soon as they become. And then when they start to become juniors and seniors, they say, can I have a car? Well, what's the first thing these students do with a car? Drive to school, because you're a big man and a big girl on campus when you have your own vehicle. But that's not the end of it. We currently have, roughly, I figured out, about 14,000 juniors and the same with seniors in this district, 28,000. These kids drive to school. Occasionally they take a bus. but they like to drive, and they pick up a neighbor kid, and they pick up a girlfriend and other sources. Okay, if that's the case, we can cut these young people off. They're driving cars. They're not riding the bus because it's not cool to ride the bus when you're a junior, senior. What's cool to have that car? So the result is that would be a number of students we take off the bus. That would lower the enrollment on the bus. It would even lower the number of buses, the maintenance of the bus, the gas on the bus, and everything. All because these kids. I'm told that what happens, the reason we can't do it, because if they miss 5 days, we take them off, or we may have to put them back on. My point is, once they come off, they should remain off for the first of 1 semester at a time. You wanted a car, you wanted to drive yourself, fine. Or a parent has to if there's a situation. The second point I want to point out is that when you take a look at any pickup truck that we have here in Florida, at least in Lee County, the one thing that's very obvious about it, it has side view mirrors. Those side view mirrors extend 18 inches right or left so that driver can see what's behind them. But our streets aren't wide enough. So that's why sometimes children get hit with the side view mirror, because they extend out. And finally, when Cape Coral was built, they did not build it and they didn't have the foresight then to have streets wide enough to accommodate. There are so many streets, and you can go down any day that they come to garbage, and that garbage truck is out there, and see if your car has to pull to the left or go around the garbage truck. There are people walking dogs. There are people getting exercise. There are whole groups. Our streets are too narrow. You're not going to correct that situation in one fell swoop. It's a long process. But I want to thank all the parents who spoke tonight and all the people. It helps bring us better and closer together. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Final remarks, Chair Gittens, Dr. Adkins.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming, and to remind everyone, busstopsafety@leeschools.net. And any ideas that you have or other ideas that we didn't hear, make sure you put them on there. Again, I will say I agree with you. Urgency is what we can do now. We've heard some ideas that we can start out with and others that will take us a little bit longer. But the only way anything will get done is that we continue to work together. And thank you for coming and sharing your ideas and helping us to solve a problem of making sure that all of our students and children in Lee County schools are safe.
Dr. Adkins?
I don't think I can say it any better than that.
All right, then thank you again for everybody that was here tonight, and thank you for your ideas. If you do wish to be a part of the ongoing discussions, these sheets of paper are back by the back. As you make your way out the door, please fill one out and leave those for us. As was mentioned, use the email address busstopsafety.com. And in terms of 2 things we can do tomorrow morning, remember, we can drive safely out on the streets and pay attention to our surroundings, and we can work with our friends, neighbors, parents, and families to make sure we have adults at those bus stops. So thank you, everybody, for being here, and have a good night.